Hello friends of the internet, it's Paul and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I wanted to do another installment of Paul's Cheap and Easy Meals, and today I'm going to try to show you how I do one of everybody's favorite, and it's really cheap, easy, and so good, meatloaf. You gotta love it. So let's jump right into the action. Okay, the first thing I do is I take 2 pounds of ground beef, add it to a nice large bowl, and then set that aside for a minute. Then I get a bowl and an egg. I like to use a dark bowl, so I'm not a pro at cracking eggs. Sometimes I'll get a shell in there, and if I do, then it's real easy to see the shell, but this time worked real good, no shell. So I'm going to add that to the beef. Okay, so now the first thing I do is I like to use a sweet onion, not the small onions are real strong, but sweet ones. And I just kind of dice that up into small pieces. We don't want huge chunks. You do this probably mainly for the flavor more than the texture. So you don't want a whole bunch. And we just want it cut up into fine pieces. Maybe a little bit more. That's nice. Okay. So small pieces like this. It looks about right. Add that into the beef. Now the next thing we're going to add is just some plain breadcrumbs. I want to add about a cup of them. And a good thing because that's all I got. Add that in there. Next thing we need is a cup of milk. Which I got right here. Okay. So we've got 2 pounds of beef, we've got some onions cut up fine, we've got an egg, we've got a cup of breadcrumbs plain, and a cup of milk. Now what we're going to do is, number one, turn your oven on so it's ready. You want your oven to be at 350 degrees. Now, some of the dry ingredients, what I do is I add about a tablespoon of the dried parsley flakes. They give it some color and a good flavor. So I just reach in there. About that much. Sprinkle that in there. Then I throw in a teaspoon of salt and about you gotta season this how you like it, but I take about I can't talk today, about a half a teaspoon of black pepper. Give it a little bit of spice. And that's about it for the ingredients. Now we just gotta mix her up. So this is kind of the fun part, but I don't know of any better way to do it. You gotta just get your hands dirty and get in there and get it done, I guess. It's kind of a messy way to go, but it works. And, you know, that's kind of the theme, cheap and easy, so we're not gonna be afraid to get our hands dirty. That's what we're doing. So we want to get it all mixed around there good. Something like that right there. Alright. Okay, so now we are going to put it into our bowl. Now this is a 5 by 9 and it's nice because it's a little bit deep, and it just makes a perfect loaf, seems like. So we're just going to add the beef and everything right into that. I haven't buttered it or nothing, I just put it right in there. And we're not packing it down hard, but we kind of want it to be formed, so when you go to cut it, you can actually cut nice slices off and it doesn't all just fall apart. So you just keep pushing that in there. Good. And that's about it for it. And then we can get it all together and we can worry about the shape a little bit. Something like that. So it kind of almost resembles a loaf of bread. Okay, we're ready for the oven. We're going to put it in for an hour at 350 degrees. But notice, I've got the glass being held within this metal pan because depending on your meat or how high you have it, you'll have a real mess if you put it in the oven. You want to have it so if anything does boil over, splatters over that, it kind of gets caught on this. Now I do want to say an hour will not be enough to have this totally done. What I do then is I take it out and I put a topping on it. And then I'll put it back in for probably 20 minutes. The main thing is I'll stick the internal thermometer in there and make sure it's 170 degrees. That's what I feel comfortable at. So that's what I do. But we're going to put this in for an hour, take it out, and we'll put our topping on then. Okay, so while our meatloaf is baking, we want to work on making the topping, I guess you would call it. And so to do that, I start with a whole bunch of ketchup. And we're going to mix that with some mustard. Not going for exact measures here. And again, you'll have to do that to your taste. Now, a lot of people use brown sugar at this point, but we're trying to lose weight here, so I'm going to just sweeten it with some couple tablespoons of Splenda. And we'll mix that up. And it's going to come to like a orangish sauce. And we will put that on our meatloaf and then stick it back in the stove for an additional 20 minutes or so. Alright, so that's what that looks like. Now the meatloaf's about done, so let me go get that out of the oven. Okay, now this is after about 1 hour. The meatloaf's been baking, and you'll see if I tilt it up, there's some of the grease there. You want to pour that out. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so I've poured off the grease, and now I'm going to put on our topping sauce. Just want to cover it. Nothing too exact about it. Okay. So we're going to stick that back into the oven. That's still at 350. And we'll give it probably another 20-25 minutes or so. Alright, So now the wife likes mushroom gravy with hers, so I thought I may as well go ahead and show you that. So I started with 3 cups of water that I got heating in the stove there. To that I'm just going to put in a can of mushrooms. Put them right in there. Get that heating. And then into that I'm going to add Weiler's beef granules. I'll show you. They also make them in cube form, but I really like the granules better. The cubes was the old way that they came, but the granules dissolve a lot quicker, mix a lot better. So then if you're tasting it, you can get an idea of how it's going to be right off the bat. You don't have to wait for the cube to dissolve. So I think I just put in there about 2 tablespoons or so. So of course now that's just watery. You don't want your gravy like that, so we have to thicken it. So what we do then is, so to thicken our gravy, I'm going to add some cornstarch. But the way you do that is put a bunch in a bowl there, like a heaping tablespoon or so. Alright. And then you just got to add some cold water to that. You don't want to mix this like right into the hot, because it will all congeal and become lumpy and really gross. So now we're just going to add a little bit of cold water to this. Can you see that? We'll mix it around. Yeah, you can see that. Okay, so I've got my mixture. I'm going to pour in there. And it's important you want to keep, just hit the camera. You want to keep that stirring as you bring up the heat. Okay, so I've kind of zoomed in here. Maybe you can see, I'll turn the stove on through the steam, but see how that thickens it real nice? Makes a real nice gravy. It's got good color. If you got a deep, good brown color, you know you got enough of the beef seasoning in there. The main trick is, like I say, when you're adding the thickening agent to cornstarch, you want to make sure that you're always stirring, and you don't want to add too much, because it doesn't really start thickening until it reaches a boil. So you gotta give it a little bit of time. Okay, so let me get the meatloaf out. I think it's about done. Okay, here's the meatloaf. After about an hour and a half total cook time, let's check our temperature. Okay, right there you can see there's 170. So it's actually going, maybe you can't see, too much glare. Anyway, it's 170, so we're good. That's, you always want to check in the middle. And so yeah, that's the finished product, and I'm sure it's going to be tasty. So hope you'll try this recipe. As usual, we try to make it quick and easy, or cheap and easy actually too. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.